everyone. Midori here from Ecamm Network. Welcome back to our Meet the Pros series. I have a very, very special guest with us today. It's Fain Brandt, and we're super excited to have her on. She's absolutely fabulous. I've been talking to her a bit as we do our testing before we go live, which we'll talk about. But before we get started, just if you're joining us today, please let us know where you're tuning in from. We really want to know where you're from, where you're tuning in. So yeah, and last thing before we start asking Mary tons and tons of questions, if you're interested in being part of this series, please send us a Facebook message, send us an email. We really want to meet all of our Ecamm Live users and talk to them and learn all your tips and tricks. And so this is a really cool experience for us, and we just love it. So without further ado, let's talk to Mary. Hi,
Oh, thank you so
Mary.
much for having me on the show. You guys know I absolutely love Ecamm. I'm always like, it's at the end of my Facebook live shows, resources used. I
Oh,
wrote an
awesome.
article on it, so I actually love the program, and I'm getting more comfortable with doing Facebook lives.
That's so
It's,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, we're so
yeah.
excited to have you. Like I said, Mary and I got to talk for a few minutes beforehand, and she has so much cool information and cool knowledge. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and sort of what you do, what your business is?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Fain Brandt, and I'm in beautiful San Diego, not a bad place to live.
Not at
And we
all.
actually have blue sky today. It's not raining. We've had like one of the rainiest seasons so far. I started off as a career coach for women in transition because I had gone through that myself. And the one thing that all of my clients had in common is they needed help with LinkedIn. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that is where my journey started as a career coach. And then all my clients needed help with LinkedIn. So I invested in LinkedIn training. And then fast forward, I realized that entrepreneurs and small businesses weren't using LinkedIn. So this was in 2014, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
People weren't using LinkedIn. They thought it was just a job seeker site, which it still is,
Totally.
but it's become so much more robust than that. And I actually love LinkedIn. It is my number one platform. And so then I became this LinkedIn strategist for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And I have an online course, and I have a private Facebook group called the LinkedIn Bakery, serving up bite-sized tips so you don't get overwhelmed.
I love your website. I looked all over it, and I think
Oh,
that's
thanks.
brilliant. I really love it.
It needs some updates. I actually just am signing a contract with someone to go in and do some updates because we have new services this year. We're doing done for you services. So I do done with you, like side
Oh,
by side, and teach you, right? Because
yeah.
I'm a firm believer in teaching someone how to do something, because if you understand why you're using it and how to use it, I feel like you'll be more successful. But not everybody wants to do that. And I get it, because I don't want to learn how to do my website. I just want someone to do
Right.
it.
Someone else to do it, for
So we're
sure.
doing done for you services where we do an intake session, like a Zoom call or something, and a
Mhm.
questionnaire, and then we'll write your profile for you.
Wow, that's so cool. So tell us a little bit more about LinkedIn, because I actually think for a lot of people, it really is kind of a confusing platform and
Yeah.
they don't really know how to use it. So just tell us a little bit more about like what your like maybe top two tips are for leveraging LinkedIn.
Okay. Top two. Okay.
Well, or a
First,
couple, a couple.
so I'm gonna. This is like global, like the dance floor. Like I'm up here on the balcony looking down. So you've got to have a rock star profile, and that actually
Okay.
you've got to put some work into it. You've got to spruce it up. You have to make sure it's relevant. Most people, I always ask, are you on LinkedIn or are you active? Like, how long has it
Okay.
been since you've spruced up your profile? Take some time, make sure it's relevant. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. But the second tip, if I'm just going to give two tips, is
Mhm.
be consistent and be on LinkedIn. Like 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference in getting profile views and connecting with the right people and growing your network. And all those people, like I always tell people, they're like, how do I make money? I'm like, I'm not the right coach for you. I'm not the right strategist, because if all you're looking to do on LinkedIn is like, how do I sell? That's not what it's for. It's how do you
Right.
nurture relationships? How do
Yeah.
you build your network with the right people in there that are potential clients, that they're referrals, they're partners, they're people that you want to collaborate with and just have brainstorming sessions with or geek out on tech stuff. It's all about those relationships, and it's by nurturing and establishing those relationships that the clients will come, that you'll create this credibility with your brand.
Yeah, totally. So along those lines, I mean, I think that live streaming is a perfect way to build those relationships in that community. So, because you're live and people are seeing your face and getting to know you. So tell me a little bit about that, about starting to use live
Yeah.
streaming in your business.
Yeah, so I have to first off give props out to Stephanie Liu. I am her number one fan. Many of you will know her. She's the one who prompted me to do Facebook Live and then to create my own Facebook Live show. She actually has a course on that, and she is amazing. I have to say that using Facebook Live, it really helps increase your visibility, your credibility, your brand awareness. But just like you said, it helps people get to connect with you, the face, the person behind the brand, and they get to see me, they get to see my personality. And what people always tell me is that you're the same online as you are offline. I'm authentic, I'm real, I make mistakes, I share the good, the bad, the ugly. When I make a mistake, I like to share it. And sometimes it's live because let's be real, technology is technology. I love it when it works and I hate it when it doesn't. And we're all going to have those live streaming or tech issues, and you have to learn how to roll with them. And I think when you do that, people see that you're authentic and real, and they just can connect with you on a deeper level. I feel that doing my Facebook Live show has expanded my network because everyone can see that across the globe. But also, we all know that videos, 80% of marketing, and any video content has a higher engagement factor than just a post. Now, I'm not saying that everything should be live video, but I definitely think that everybody should be doing some type of live video in their business.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. I really, really love that. So, tell me a little bit. So how long ago did you start using live video for your business?
So I'm going to say it was almost 2 years ago. I think it's
Okay.
going on 2 years. So it started with just me on camera, and that's pretty boring, right?
Right.
Just talking, talking, talking. And it's also nerve wracking if it's just you
Mm-hmm.
talking to the camera, even though they tell you, look at the camera and pretend you're talking to one person. What I decided to do is to bring guests on, other
Yes.
guest experts, because I just didn't want people to just have me on camera and just my advice in my head, right?
Right.
Let's get other experts. So I feel that Facebook Lives, where you have a guest expert on, like this or something,
Yes.
is really beneficial to your audience. You're really providing value. And so my Facebook show was all about providing value to my audience. So we bring marketing specialists, Facebook Live specialists, designers. I have digital organizers, how to stay organized. I just
Yes.
have a plethora of people, marketing, messaging marketing, how to write a book, right?
So
So
cool.
yeah, so I just like to bring all these people on. And usually it's because I'm like in awe of the work they're doing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you'd be a really cool guest
Yeah, totally.
for my show. And so that's how I started that, is to bring
Yeah.
the guests on. And then
Right.
it's really through trial and tribulation where you figure out what your zone is, like where
Mm-hmm.
the magic happens. I can say that this year I finally created a script because I haven't had one. And
Okay.
having a script, make sure that you ask those 3 questions that you put out there to your audience. Like, hey, we're going to ask Mary Rose these 3 questions about branding. So
Okay.
without a script, I might get those asked and I might not.
Yeah.
So one piece of advice is to create a script, just an outline.
Okay.
Introduce your guests, make sure you know their name.
Mm-hmm.
What are the 3 things that you're going to talk about? And then always, always, always have a call to action at the end, because it is your show and you do want to drive business. So I
Yeah.
was missing that before. I would say it sometimes, not sometimes. I'd have a link, not have a link. So I think
Yeah.
having a script has really, really helped.
I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I already told Mary that my cat is joining me. I was hoping that she wouldn't make an
I
appearance.
just saw that little white paw. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That is live.
That is live. That is live. My cat Zuzu is joining us today. That is such great advice. I love that. Can you? I know I'm sort of putting you on the spot here with this question, but think back to when you first went live. What were some things that you learned, like that first time that you
The
went
evil
live?
laugh.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay. Um, so one of my first lives with a guest,
Mhm.
we didn't test before. I
Mhm.
couldn't get my programs and platforms to work and connect. And I ended up using my phone, but using a phone, it's moving. I didn't have a tripod. So I always say, do a pre-checklist.
Mhm.
Just because your guest has done Facebook Live before, or just because you've done it before, doesn't mean that your guest is an expert. So
Yeah.
now I have a list. You have to have lighting. You have to have a mic. Right now I have
Yeah.
earbuds. This is just fine, you guys, but you need
Yep.
something to get the echo out. Are you connected with them on Skype or whatever platform you're using? Definitely test it out beforehand. So now my show's at 7 p.m. and
Mhm.
we log in at 6:30 to test out the lighting, the mic, go over how the show is going to work. And I think having that done ahead of time, it just kind of eases the stress. And if you do have tech issues, you have time to fix those,
Yeah.
or go to plan B. So always have plan B.
Yes, that's another great tip for sure. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Mary, because I had the same problem. So the first time that I went live with a guest, gave myself only 15 minutes to connect with them, and that was not enough time because I couldn't find them on Skype. I couldn't
Yeah,
find their account. So then, like, all that time was wasted. So, tip number one, if you're bringing on a Skype guest, connect with them on Skype a couple days before. And then, like you said, like have a checklist, and definitely, get on together early and just make sure everything's
yeah,
set up correctly. I mean, I have an undergraduate degree in theater, and you always have a rehearsal, right? You always have a technical rehearsal before your performance. So just take a tip from an old
it's a
theater. Yeah,
performance.
it's a performance. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't go and have a performance without a technical rehearsal.
No.
So that's really, really key. Great. So, I think you've talked about this a little bit, but let's talk again about how often you go live and sort of
Mhm.
what your different shows and broadcasts are like.
Sure. So I go live twice a month, the first and third Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. That's what works for me. So tip number 2 or 3, whatever number tip we're on,
Yeah, for so many
find a
tips.
time that works for you. Because if
Okay.
it doesn't work for you, you won't commit to it. So
Okay.
I was going back and forth. Like I want to do Tuesdays at 12 just because it sounded cute. Well, that just wasn't realistic for me. And so 7 p.m. I'm Pacific time. And I was worried that other people wouldn't see my broadcast. But you know what? You get so many people viewing the replays, so don't worry about that. Figure out what time that works for you that you can be consistent with. Um, so my show is the first and third Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's usually about 45 minutes long, half hour with the guests going through things, 15 minutes Q&A. I find that that's the sweet spot. I was, for some reason, thinking it had to be an hour-long show. Tip number 5 or 6, whatever we're at, you should be on for as long as you need to get your message out there. Share with your audience. Yours might be a 15-minute Facebook Live. It might be 30 minutes, but don't compare with yourself with what other people are doing. You need to figure out what works for your audience and what's working for the message that you're trying to get out. I used to think I had to go an hour to be like a legitimate Facebook Live show.
Yeah.
That's just silly. You need to go as long as you need to go. Maybe it's a half hour. Maybe it's 45 minutes.
I think that's such great tips. I really love that. So yeah, we're trying to figure out. I think my first time going live, I was really nervous, so I cut it down, like it was only like 15 minutes, and because I just was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I have to get off. So but then the next time, I think it was closer to like 25 or 30, and I think that's a comfortable place for me, is like the 25, 30,
Yeah.
35 minute zone, and maybe I'll get to a place where I feel comfortable doing more. And I think for us doing interviews, it also depends on where we go with the interview. So that's a huge part of it as well. So moving along, I do want to ask you a little bit about what I know you're obviously a big fan of Ecamm Live. So what kinds of
Yay.
features, what kinds of features what
Happy
are your
dance.
favorite? Happy dance. Um, so what kind
For
of features do
Ecamm?
you like? Yeah, for Ecamm, like what's your favorite feature that you like to use? Like what is really the thing that's like you're like, oh, this is just making my life so great.
Well, well, so it's easy to use, right? I've
Yes.
just got to say, like, it is so easy to use. I like the branding on the bottom,
Yes.
right? I like being able to have like my guest name on, mine and
Yes.
my guest names on the screen. And I really like bringing comments on the screen from people that are watching. And the
Yeah.
reason I like that is because it makes them feel special. Who
Yeah.
doesn't like to see their name and to be called out on the show? So being able to read the comments and say, like one of my frequent guests or frequent viewers is Mary Rose, and she'll post a question. I'm like, hey, Mary Rose just posted the question, and I'll read it, but I'll also put it on the screen. And I
Hmm.
think that people really like being acknowledged.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if you're really trying to build your community, for sure, like that's a great way to do that. So,
So those are
yeah.
just some of the simple things that I use every time I go live.
Yeah.
Um, And what else do I just like having different scenes set up so I can just click on it. So
Hmm.
if it's Monday Motivation, it just says Monday Motivation with Mary, and I just click on that scene that's I've already set up. And I think I have 4 different scenes set up. And that's all I need right now.
Yeah.
But that's what works.
Yeah, I use the scenes too for this broadcast, and it makes my life so much easier. It's
Right?
also one of my favorite features. I also too just want to mention also that I'm also using the green screen feature, in case anyone's wondering. So the screen behind me is actually green; it's not blue. So that's awesome. So okay, so those are some of your favorite features. So are there any other sort of platforms you use, or any other tips or tricks you have that is like outside of Facebook or even outside of Ecamm?
Well, I'm waiting for LinkedIn Live to give me access. I
Yes.
don't have access yet. LinkedIn, if you're watching, I need access. I'm using Restream.
Okay, great.
I
Yes.
just started using that so that I can broadcast to multiple platforms. What I do notice is when you're using Restream, you can't see the comments.
Hmm. That's
Yeah,
something that should be able to be fixable. So we're hoping that we can
I
get that
know.
fixed
I know.
with Restream. So that's something that we'll work on that. I'll
Yeah,
remind
but
our engineers of that.
yeah, and I think a lot of people have commented on that in the private Facebook group
Yeah,
that we're
for
all
sure.
in. But I like Restream. I love Ecamm. I have a Mac, obviously, if I'm using Ecamm. Is it Elgato? Is it Stream Deck? The
Oh,
stream,
yes.
the box,
The box.
the
Yes.
magic
The
box.
magic box. Yeah.
The Magic Box is amazing, Stream Deck, because you can set it up to open Skype, open Ecamm, and to
Right.
switch scenes. So
Okay.
without having to go to my computer and be like, when you're on live and then you go like this and you're trying to move
Yes.
something, you just have a little deck over here and you just hit these buttons and it magically transforms your screen to the right screen. So I think I used it once and I'm
Okay.
super excited to continue using that and get better at that and be able to toggle back and forth easier for when I just want my guest on the screen, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
thirsty and I need a drink of water. So
Totally.
that's a
Or you need to
trick.
check something. Yeah. Or your
Or I need
cat's
to check
attacking you.
something, or your cat is trying to take your screen time away. You can
Right.
just use that and toggle back and forth. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to learn how to toggle. I was always
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
nervous to toggle, like I'm going to lose something. But
Right.
um, can I give one more tip?
Yeah. I love it. Go for it.
So when you're starting off, and even for someone like me that I guess they're calling me a pro, I don't feel like a pro, but thank you.
Hmm.
I still get nervous, and especially when I'm like trying new equipment. Like I have a new mic, and I went live, it worked, and then it didn't work.
Hmm.
So one of the tips that I like to share is to get in a private Facebook group and test it out. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Test out your whole setup. Does this look right? Is my lighting good? Can you hear me? Make all your mistakes in that small community where it's that safe space and people will give you feedback with love instead of
Hmm.
going live the first couple times like on Facebook and you're not sure and you cut someone off or your mic doesn't work. Use these Facebook groups and communities that you're in to do your practice.
Yeah. I think that's such smart advice. And like you said, these are like people that you know well and that care about you and that are going to give you honest feedback and not going to kind of troll you and tell you you
Yeah.
sound bad or look bad or anything like that. I think that's really helpful. And then I think that that's also a really good motivation to kind of start going live early. You know, people say, "Oh, I just don't know. I haven't built my community yet." But when your community is small, that is the time to start going live because you have all your biggest supporters and your community is small. So if you make a mistake, you know, not many people are going to even see it. So then you can really build yourself up. And then by the time you have this huge community, that's when you're just like a complete pro and
You're a
going live
pro.
is
And
not a big deal. And just, you just live all the time. And yeah, so I think that's really, really great advice. Do you have any other little tips like that you might want to share with us that you can think of off the top of your head?
so I think one of the biggest questions I get asked when people, we just did a 5-day video challenge on LinkedIn. So in my private group, my private Facebook group, the LinkedIn Bakery, I try to do challenges and stuff on LinkedIn to get people more motivated. So I wanted to do a video challenge because, hello, video is here to stay. We all need to embrace it, whether we want
Yeah.
to or not.
Yeah.
And so the biggest question I get asked is content. Like, I don't know what to say. So I came up with a list of 5 things. I'm like, first, introduce yourself. Not everybody knows who you are or what you do or the services you provide. And question number 2 and 3 were, what are the top 2 questions that you get asked? Do a video and answer those questions. Like
Yeah.
for me, people are always asking me, do I really need a LinkedIn page? They used to be called company page. I'm just a solopreneur. Do I need that page? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It really does help with your credibility, and the logo will be populated on your personal profile, adding to your credibility.
Yeah.
So just find 2 or 3 questions that you get asked, and then just do a video on that. Programs and apps. One of my videos last week was about Ecamm, my favorite platforms and programs to use when I'm
Yeah.
doing live video. So share what you love. What programs you're using, what apps, what events you're going to, what conferences, things
Yeah.
like that. Those are, 5 right there.
Yep. That's wonderful. And just like have yourself a little list, a little script that you can reference and go for it. Yeah. I really, really love that tip. And actually I just so everyone knows, everyone should check out Mary's awesome website. I know you say it needs updates, but I think it's
It
adorable
does.
and
Thank
has so
you.
much information on it. And then also definitely check out her Facebook page because she does so many interviews and I definitely looked through a lot of them before
Oh,
today's
good.
interview. And yeah, you're just really, really awesome. And I think that people can learn so much from you. So I really hope that everyone will go and like check out your
Thanks.
stuff. And I know
This
I
is
learned a
who I
lot.
am in person
Yeah.
and online. I say my brand is fun and informative, casual and conversational.
Yeah, and I like I said earlier, I talked to you for a while before we were doing our all very important test, and this is exactly what she's like. And I'm just so thankful that you and I got to connect. So
Me
tell
too.
us, yeah, so tell us your website, like all the places where we can find you, the best places to
Okay.
get in touch with you.
This is going to be really hard. If you just Google Mary Fain Brandt, that's MaryFainBrandt, I will come up in all the searches. So my
Yeah,
website is my
perfect.
name, LinkedIn, so I definitely go to my website. You can get my LinkedIn audit checklist and you can start optimizing your profile. There's like 4 videos included. That's for free. Every Tuesday on Facebook, we do a Tuesday tip about LinkedIn, like new services that are coming out. My Facebook show is over there. And of course, you know what? If you watch the show and want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with you, but please send me a message with your connection request telling me that you saw me on the Ecamm Live Facebook
Oh,
show.
yay. Yes, awesome. Okay, that's so great. Cool. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you. Um, I think that's all. I know that I'm going to be reaching out to you much more for helps and tips and advice. So I'm really excited that we've made this connection. I'm
I am
looking at
too.
our our comments here, and we don't have any questions, but Eileen Smith said hi, and Carlos
Hi.
Phoenix said, "This is great, love it." Here, I can actually
Oh,
just,
good. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. And
yeah.
I will definitely go on. If anyone has any questions, I love to be of service. So just drop those questions in the comments and I'll go back
Yeah.
and watch the replay
Okay,
as
awesome.
well. And I'll
Yeah.
answer any questions. But, I'd love to encourage everyone to do 2 things: get over on LinkedIn, because that
Yeah.
is like the business to business platform. That's where people are making, big decisions, big money,
Yep.
right? And also to start doing video, start doing some live video. And I just want to encourage everyone, you know what? It's Tuesday. I want to see one video and I want you to post it and I want you to tag me so I can see it. Okay?
Yay! Okay, I love that. All right. Well, Mary, thank you so much again for your time. We really loved having you. I want to have you on back again because I know that you're going
Yeah,
to have even more tips in the future. So this will
absolutely.
not be the last time we'll be having Mary on. And
Yay.
again, thank you so much. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Don't forget to go to Mary's website and go check her out on Facebook and do all those things because she is awesome and we love her here at Ecamm. So,
I
all
love
right.
you, Cam.
Thank you. Bye, Mary.
Okay, bye everyone.